of the 3 missing Montgomery College students continues in Frederick County tonight.
10 days and thousands of man-hours have been unable to produce any clues.
We have a few leads, a few other options we want to take advantage of, and just try to put together some pieces to this puzzle.
Do you believe the occult may be involved in the disappearance of your son?
Hi, and welcome to another film review. This time I'll be discussing the 1999 found footage horror, The Blair Witch Project. The plot centers around Heather, Mike, and Joshua, who traveled to Burkittsville, Maryland in 1994 to make a documentary about the legend of the Blair Witch. They enter a forest area near the town to research the myth and disappear. Their footage is recovered a year later. I remember going to see this at the cinema by myself when it was released. Because this was a horror movie about a witch, I thought this would be interesting to watch, but I ended up finding the movie absolutely boring, not scary in the slightest, and couldn't wait for it to finish. If you're glancing at your watch every so often in the cinema, it's not a great sign, and it's obviously not holding your attention. The Blair Witch Project was responsible for putting me off seeing any other found footage movies for years because I assumed they were all like that. However, this was a sleeper hit and made close to $248 million at the box office on a budget of $200,000 to $750,000. It influenced a ton of other found footage horror movies such as Paranormal Activity, Wreck, and Cloverfield. I just couldn't understand how the film made so much money and why a lot of people liked it. I'll now talk about why I didn't like the Blair Witch Project. I felt that it didn't take long for the 3 characters to become lost, even though Heather had a map and compass. Most of the movie I felt consisted of Heather, Mike, and Joshua walking around and around in circles, eventually coming back to the same stream they had encountered previously, becoming angry and frustrated at Heather for supposedly losing the map and getting them lost. Joshua starts complaining that he has to start work soon. Then the most bizarre thing happens when it is revealed that Mike actually kicked the map into the water when he thought it wasn't helping them. This results in a shouting match as Joshua and Heather can't believe that he did that. For a hiking trip into the woods, you would have thought they would have been well equipped with plenty of food and water, but they complain that they're hungry. I thought being lost one might lose the compulsion to keep filming, but Heather keeps trying to record even though it's upsetting Joshua and Mike, who just want to get home. What disappointed me the most was that I was expecting to see at some point during the movie a scene of the actual witch where we get to see her form or some kind of spirit or creature. This never happens. In the film we do get treated to piles of rocks around their tent when they decide to camp for the night, sounds of crashing trees in the far distance, slime on Joshua's equipment, and symbols of witchcraft that are made out of twigs, hardly pulling the stops out to frighten me. One scene during the night, the tent shakes, and what sounds like children's laughter is heard. The 3 take off running where Heather yells something like, "Look at that," but we see nothing. The camera doesn't pan around to see what she's talking about. We just get treated to shaky cam. The only half scary thing that happens is that Joshua disappears. Heather picks up some twigs, and wrapped inside them is a piece of Joshua's clothing and what appears to be hair and a tooth. In the last act of the Blair Witch Project, we come across an old rundown house of Rustin Parr that the locals mentioned when they were interviewed early on in the film. Mike and Heather are lured in there as they believe they hear Joshua calling them. The final moments I felt just led up to nothing, as, spoilers, all we see is Mike looking at a wall in the corner of a basement. Heather is then knocked over with the camera to the ground. We don't know who or what did that. I felt that at the start of the movie we really didn't get to know a whole lot about the Blair Witch. It would have been nice to get some more information about her. The sequel, Blair Witch, that came out in 2016, which followed Heather's brother looking into her disappearance, I found so much better, as we get to see an actual image of the witch, unlike in the Blair Witch Project, and some more information about her possible death and how she might have been killed. I felt this movie was a pain to get through, but one of the directors did go on to make a found footage horror film years later I did like, called Exists, that was released in 2014, about a group of people that are terrorized by a Bigfoot. The reason I liked that movie was that there was so much going on in it. Well, thank you very much for listening to my film review of the Blair Witch Project, and have a great day.